2, 3.
So Shaun, tell us a little bit about headshots today. We want to know, what is it that you are looking for when you start creating?
So for me, it's a whole process. Like it's a start from A to B to Z kind of a situation. And what a lot of people I feel miss when it comes to taking a headshot is that word right there, headshot. A lot of times people just think, oh, it's a picture of my head. So they can go to any photographer, and any photographer will say, yes, I can do a headshot, because they think it's a portrait. But there are industry standards that we have to follow. So how you do your hair, what the expressions are that you use, the way I crop the images, the wardrobe that you use. All of this is very specific. And in my personal process, I'm very anal about it. I'm like, everything is I'm not taking it with a chainsaw. I'm a precision surgeon of how I'm going to get and pull things out of you. And so that's the difference.
Like you.
Thank you.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
So print ready, when a model or an actor goes in and sits down with you, they really have to be aware of their hair color, making sure that they don't have those roots really dark, or they don't have something that really makes them look like they're stripy, you know, in their hair.
Or like, and a lot of times the problems that you can run into is people forget that I'm going to light you. Meaning, like, you can walk outside and you won't see that stripe that happens when your roots are starting to grow out. But the second that I start incorporating lighting into this scenario, it's so visible. And so we work really hard to try and take care of that ahead of time. I have a very specific process. You don't just show up and take a picture with me. There are weeks of training that you're going to go through to get you ready. And then what's going to happen is you're going to get in front of the camera, and it's going to go less than 2 or 3 minutes. It's going to go fast. And you're going to be like, what the heck just happened? But then you're going to see the outcome of what we've created. I mean, I've had mothers in tears of their kids because they've never seen themselves that way before. And it's not me trying to boast or brag. It's just there's an approach to the work, and it's not just go stand in front of a camera and get a picture made. You know, we're gonna do like everything else. And that's one of the reasons I feel like working with the Styles program and everything else is so valid, because that's the process. There's such a misconception with our industry in particular that if you have a nice face or a nice figure, that you could just be a model or a star. And I'm telling you right now, that's not how the real world works.
Well, character has to be incorporated into that. The
Yes.
eyes, the breathing, the mouth, the static expression.
It's an entire process. It's an entire process from start A to start B. You don't just wake up one day and be like, you know, they make fun of it in the movie Zoolander where Ben Stiller feels like, oh, I've just got a good face and I could just be a model.
Maverick.
But the reality of it is there's a lot of work and practice and exercises that go into that perfection. You don't just show up on set and be like, okay, I'm a model today. Because you don't know the job. You don't know it, and your job isn't to just stand there and be incredibly good looking, like Ben Stiller says in Zoolander. Your job is to understand the what's the client want, how do we pull that stuff out, and good direction and good, you know, preparation is what is going to create all that. And so that's why I do that with my headshots.
I think that's great.
Go
because I mean, if they just go in thinking that you're going to also just make them magical, they have to bring something to the table as well.
100%.
With their expressions.
And that's another great example is I'm not taking a glamour photo of you. I'm not taking a picture that you're going to go give to your grandma, though I'm sure she would like it fine.
Yeah.
We're creating a marketing piece that sells you through this process. You got to remember, a good headshot isn't going to, in most cases, get you the job off of that picture alone. But what a good headshot does is it gets them to linger as they're flipping through everybody, and they linger on you for 2 or 3 seconds. If I can get 2 or 3 seconds, that's going to get you in the door. And if you can get in the door, then the rest is up to you to do it the right way.
Well, think about how many faces that they're looking at. I mean, they're looking at 40 to 50 faces at once. What stands out? What inspires them? What do they look at? What are they drawn to?
I think some of them know, and I think some of them don't know. But what the bottom line comes down to is the concept of story. complexity. Like when I see a headshot that I'm like, oh God, we really kicked butt on that one. What I'm looking at is I'm looking at their eyes where there's an intensity and a confidence, but there's also this lingering vulnerability in the background, and that makes complexity happen. And when they see complexity, they're attracted to that. Remember, at the end of the day, all they're trying to do is find a face for their story.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter if it's a commercial, it doesn't matter if it's a movie, it doesn't matter if you're walking a runway. We're telling story. That's what our business is. We're the oldest business of time. That's the coolest thing about what we do, is we tell story, and that's what humans have done since the beginning of time. I mean, there's history everywhere of it, right? And so that's what we do in this modern age, is tell the story. And if we can create a complexity and a likability and a drawnness, you know, your theatrical headshot is intense and it's confident and it's mysterious on variables that they don't understand why it's mysterious. Where your commercial headshot is likability and happy. It's infectiousness.
Natural.
Remember, at the end of the day, we're trying to sell a product, right?
Yeah, it's
and if we can get you to communicate on this level of trust, all of a sudden, you're more willing to buy their product. And so that's what a good commercial headshot does.
So a couple things that I tell them to do before they go in and shoot with you is, number one, warm up the face, because the muscles are tight and they don't have the flexibility with showing, you know, the variation in the mouth movement. And I think that's really important when we are going through that piece, is that they do different, you know, mouthwash. They go the tractor. Yeah. They loosen up the face so that as they're expressing and they're throwing out those static expressions, you're capturing them as they move through them. And then the other thing that I say is always have a story. Because if the story isn't moving, then there's nothing in the eyes. They look like they have dead eyes.
Right.
And so those two things are really important, especially when they're breathing. When they breathe in and they exhale and they're releasing that expression, that's when we see that.
Important because intense. Especially when you get on this side of the camera, subconsciously you're going to forget to breathe. You just will. You do. Because there's an intensity of like, oh gosh, I'm in front of the camera. Your brain's racing a million miles a second. And so you forget. And when that happens, your jaw lines lock up, your lip lines lock up. But if you can breathe and exhale, it's like, you know, it's not like, but it's just a conscious choice. And what I try and tell them is every time you exhale, you're exuding your confidence. I got this. I own this. I'm the one you're looking for. I'm the person. And it brings that intensity. Yeah, and then we can manipulate that on subtle perspectives. And for me, that's part of my headshot training too. I want them in the mirror 20 minutes a day, a week and a half to 2 weeks before they even walk in my door.
Right, and even as simple as something like neck pull.
Yep.
Here versus
jawline,
here.
Manes, everything.
You know, where do they position their neck? What's a neck pull?
Yep.
What about what they wear?
Great question.
Because that's important. We don't want it to be distracting.
Well, and a lot of times people get caught into their own personal style of fashion. Well, I don't have those kind of clothes, or I don't have this kind of thing, or I get that. Guess what? I don't care. There's a reason why I pick the way I pick, because your clothing should never be noticed. If they're looking at your clothes, we failed miserably on that headshot. What they need to do is the clothes need to bring out your eyes. They need to bring out your features that enhance and make it punch harder. You know, when I talk about a headshot, my concept of a headshot is I want it to punch him, but then I also want him to hug him and hold him. We want to hit him hard and then keep him there and hold them for just a little bit longer, right?
It's true.
I mean, that's what we have to have.
Why are they drawn to that person?
Yeah, and you know, who knows? Yeah. We're humans. We're telling story, and certain variables are going to connect on certain levels and so that's what's important in a headshot, is how do we make that connection? Because if it doesn't happen, they don't get to go in the room.
So one thing I like that you do is you do a serious, so a straight look.
Theatrical is what we call that.
Then you do character, which is smiley.
Yep, commercial.
And then you do a body shot.
Right.
And that's important. And so, ladies, remember your hands on headshots too, because you do not want to have any color like mine or any fake nails on your hands ever. They should be clear.
Yeah.
And you're going to use your hands, and that just makes it interesting. So the way you position your hands is also really important. And then the intensity in the hands. We don't want to make sure that your hands aren't like clinched or accordioned. or claws. You know, you need to relax your hands.
Yeah.
And so part of this is
for the
processing.
worker, this is what's natural.
Yes.
My hand sitting like this on my leg is what feels comfortable, but it looks horrible in pictures. It needs to be not a robot either. It's just light and touch.
But nice
It's just
and close
simple.
together, nice and relaxed in the palm. And I see a lot of times, I see this, you know, where they do this. And you don't want to do that. The hands just enhance the frame of the body. So they aren't meant to distract.
Right. Right.
So it's more about your expressions when you're doing headshots. And,
Yeah.
and
For
you're
me,
going to
for
dictate
me,
the angles.
my primary focus with a headshot is your eyes. That's where everything starts. And then everything becomes secondary out of that. So when I'm lighting you, when I'm working with you, I'm looking specifically at what's happening in the eyes. And my superpower isn't lighting or pushing the button. My superpower is I'm empathic, which means I feel what you feel. And if you're not giving me what I need, my other superpower is I'll tell you what I want. I'll direct you through the process and help you get to that place, whether you're brand new or whether you've done this for 10 years. The rules don't change. We have to get the same kind of content because that's what sells you through this process and makes them feel like, okay, this is somebody that's going to be an asset to my production and not a liability. That's a bad thing. You never want to come across as a liability because you'll never get invited back.
Well, that's the difference between novice and professional, right?
100%. 100%.
So you've got to get to that point where you know the rules, you know the industry standard, and you're following that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you're just knocking down a staircase one at a time, and you're not where you need to be.
Right. Yeah.
So what else do they practice before they come and meet with you? Is there anything we haven't covered that you have them look at before they shoot?
There's two variables. I have them watch a video from an amazing photographer out of New York called Peter Hurley. His name is Peter Hurley. And he has a concept that he created called the squinch. And so I have them practice that. But my take on the squinch is a little bit different from Peter's because I want to be more in their head with the process. I don't want them thinking about what's my face doing. I want them to be like, what's the story that we're telling? And so I'm gonna, mindset is everything. And so I want to have them in that position where like I can start pulling and driving out of that. But in order to prepare for that, I want them in front of the mirror, getting used to what their face looks like when they look like that, and start creating muscle memory that like, oh, that punches, that has an intensity to it. And then from that, I can modify that and get them out of, I always tell them, your job isn't to think. Your job is to become something, right? We can't think about it. We have to do the thing. We have to be that thing.
Yeah,
and so you have to be angry, or you have to be sad, or you have to be happy or frustrated, whatever it is that we're trying to tell that story on. And here's the thing. When you get to that point, when you feel angry and you can really be in that space, your face has no choice but to reflect those emotions. If I'm happy, I'm going to look happy.
Well,
if
that's
I'm
characterization, right?
100%, yeah.
So that's the process that we work on. When we go into characterization physically, the external, what's going on with my face, what's my angle, what's my movement, and then we talk about the emotion, the breathing part. Inhale, exhale, and then the storyline is critical.
Yeah.
Because if they're not thinking of something funny, that's
then
not going to show
thinking
up
about
on their face.
this,
Yeah,
and they're going to be in this space.
It's odd.
Exactly. There's no connection. What I look for is genuineness, plausibility. Like, does that seem real or does that seem fake to me? Those are the kind of things that I'm focusing on. And when it comes to their smile, that's where I see it the most.
Yeah.
Because they try to force that.
Authentic.
Because the thing of it is, we were trained to do that badly. Our whole lives, every time somebody pointed a camera at us, they told us to smile.
They said,
and it happened when we were kids, where we didn't want to be there in the first place. So we learned to force our way out of that process. But the reality of it is it has to be genuine. It has to be authentic. Because if it's not, we don't make the connection.
And if you don't practice that, and you say, okay, ready, we're filming, we're shooting, what happens is there's a trigger that comes on the face. It's like this with the eyes and the mouth. And so it's really important that you're thinking, breathing, and feeling. And as you're talking and you're working through that, you're just going through the evolution of the emotion rather than throwing it on like wet paint.
Right. Yeah, exactly.